Hi there, Cosmic Family. My name is Jahlial. And today is January 27th. The moon has just entered in Gemini and it is going to make trines with everything that is in Aquarius, Pluto, Mars, the Sun, Mercury, and Venus. All this energy in the most harmonic aspect that we have in astrology is for us being able to look at circumstances from different perspectives. Naturally, this requires certain flexibility to these other looks, especially with regarding the things that could cause discomfort or that we don't like it. I am saying this because today was perfected the conjunction between Mars and Pluto in Aquarius. So we have right now this easiness to approach these other perspectives. And this conjunction, well, it is a very moving aspect and could have manifestations that are quite uncomfortable, because that what makes uncomfortable could reveal aspects of us in shadow, specifically. And when we talk about Aquarius, how in many occasions we are not operating from our authenticity, but we are acting in adaptive ways to the environment. That obviously many of these behaviors have accompanied us for a long time, and we are talking about programmings to fit in a family or cultural system, etc. And well, it comes a point where we feel quite disconnected from ourselves, and therefore what we are doing is like sustaining this kind of mask of obligation, of effort that doesn't feel good, because we are occupying a role or a place that is not ours in exchange of feeling belonging. But in the end, we don't feel belonging. On the contrary, we could even experiment the sensation that there is no place for us in the world, not because there isn't, but because we are not occupying the determined function that the soul came here to accomplish. And those imbalances end up being reflected in external situations that could be a little bit chaotic. So we are pushed to inhabit what is feel genuine in us. And I wanted to amplify something else regarding this aspect, because, well, it is given in total synchrony with the great entrance of Neptune in Aries of yesterday, January 26th, that is generating for many people wanting new directions, wanting to generate changes so they can feel that finally they are moving forward. But those new directions also require dissolution of illusions and projections that are not actually connected with reality, or perhaps that at this moment are not among the possibilities of concretion, so they can focus in a north. And there are circumstances that probably are asking for them to surrender to the process, to what the process is proposing, while other cases are demanding of very energetic initiatives, starting by the cut and independence of situations or people that are symbolizing an escapism, or from which illusory we believe that we are depending, but they are not truly impulsing growth. This independence and individuation that responds to the processes of Aries, not in a distortion like the ego thinking that we can with everything alone, that we have to do everything alone, that we don't need other people. This is not about that, but in the areas where these dependencies are not allowing the true revelation of the identity in the soul level that I was explaining on Sunday. So this initial period, it is going to be of recognition of that, what we need to learn to be more independent, or where we are forcing a vision of the path that is actually not contributing. And when Saturn enters, we are going to have like vital lessons. Could be, in some cases, blockages or tests that are going to invite us to make choices each time more coherent. But coming back to the transit of Mars and Pluto, that it continues to be active for the rest of the week. I've been saying that this moves in the emotional level, anger especially, so we can feel it, so we can discharge it, not in other people, not projection, but we can allow that to move out through the body, and so we can identify the information that keeps understanding, which is our relationship with the power, with the things that we are creating, and how we are responding in the face of circumstances. So as Pluto is the representation of the unconscious, the shadow, the hidden to the consciousness, for everyone in some level, well, we could be facing situations that are reflecting parts of us that we are still sustaining and that are not authentic, that are not making us feel good, or where we are losing our energy, or we need to face certain fears. And it is very usual with Plutonian transits. I've been noticing this for years, that it could emerge or re-emerge people with absence of empathy or dynamics with this kind of people, without caring, without mattering the spectrum or the label that they have in psychology from the energetical plane. All of these all of these people have a function totally Plutonian. This means activating blind points or parts that weren't integrated yet of us, and they are going to do so from these imbalanced behaviors: manipulation, lack of respect, provocation, crossing healthy boundaries. And the more that we are involved in those dynamics, the more that our energy is going to be drained. And it is important to give a disclaimer with this, because of course these dynamics could be given from unconscious places from us and other people. I'm referring that we don't have to fit every person that has something that causes rejection to us in this kind of labels, in this kind of I don't know the word in English right now, but yeah, in this kind of description. But again, involving ourselves actively in this kind of dynamics, it is a sign that our conditionings are the ones that are directing our actions. So basically, we are talking about imbalances of our ego. We are talking right now in the context of the full moon in Leo. Perhaps this is self-esteem that we need to readjust, whether to not allow manipulations or deceit, or whether to not allow ourselves to go to the other polarity, which in the end we exercise actions that are controlling, or we are returning the same energy to win, because the energy of Mars is very competitive, which also end up being a distortion. The important thing is not to be perfect, because no one is. The important thing is to detect ourselves, to come back to our center, and choose with awareness in the present, or exercising a different action next time. I wanted to emphasize this because if we only polarized ourselves in victimization, I am referring if we continue to attach ourselves to an expectation of how other people should be, or the circumstances that we cannot control right now in a general way, what happens is that limit that we are not putting to ourselves in first place, with the coherent action that requires in each case, not responding as genuinely we need, makes that the aggressiveness, which is Mars, that is not directed, can be accumulated. And for example, we could direct that anger towards oneself in a very destructive and painful way. I want to clarify that people could be like freeing this anger from other phases of their lives. So again, this is not a calling of repressing that anger, but to find a way of regulating it, to give a healthy space, to know where do we want to go with our energy. But continuing in the other line, what I was saying it is that this could produce that we can explode in other circumstances and with people that don't deserve this behavior, or that we could be excessively rigid or authoritarian even in situations that we shouldn't. And the lack of boundaries to the abuse that is allowed in certain areas of life also could lead us to abuse in other situations. For example, perpetuating that toxic relationship and then pretending that other people have to listen, and sustaining each time about the change that we are denying to do, among other examples. With abuse, I am referring to wanting to force things as I want, manipulate, crossing a boundary, or taking more energy than we should from other people. So we could lose empathy in some situations for not being empathetic and loving with ourselves in first place, for not taking a firm decision of not continuing in circumstances that are causing us damage. And we could end to having like imbalanced behaviors that we could judge on the outside. Even the ones that we are judging with much anger are showing the denied parts of ourselves, or behaviors that have affinity of form in some level with those of the people that we think that don't have compassion or empathy. The difference between them, the people that do have compassion, is that they have an opportunity to be honest with themselves, to look at themselves and recognize those parts, even if it's not pleasant, and to change. There is where lies the evolutionary power of the soul in Plutonian transits. Thank you, everyone. See you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.